Now, on Thursday, a tiny picturesque village of just 700 people in Essex could be outnumbered by illegal migrants. This is what happened in 2023 when the people of Wethersfield, near Braintree in Essex, were first told by the Home Office that their former RAF base would house small boat arrivals.
Wrong place. Asylum seekers deserve better. Wrong plan. Wrong place. Asylum seekers deserve better.
All right, well, not very happy, but the migrants were bussed there anyway, 50 of them to begin with. But 2 years later, and the Home Office will, next week, on Thursday, decide whether to allow up to 800 asylum seekers to stay in Wethersfield, totally eclipsing the village's tiny population of, remember, just 700. So, what's the problem, you may ask? Well, first of all, let me remind you of what the Home Office said about the asylum seekers when they first arrived in 2023.
But also to engage with the community as well and learn how to be a good citizen. Everybody who arrives here goes through an orientation process to understand what acceptable behaviour is. We know that they've been through quite a lengthy journey and they're in a new environment, and it's important they understand how to fit in and be part of the community and minimise any impact.
So how have they been fitting in? Have they been good citizens? The Daily Express reported this week how one asylum seeker broke free from a medical professional looking after him and attacked his elderly father's moving car while one of his daughters was inside. Another neighbour said there were a lot of fights. We hear ambulances and police cars going there quite a lot. Now, locals also said groups of up to 20 migrants regularly roam the private country roads around Wethersfield, as seen from the CCTV of one house here. You can see the group walking up the lane, leaving many people, including women, afraid to leave their homes. There were also reports of migrants defecating in the streets and fields, which, to be honest, quite frankly, I found shocking and didn't actually believe, first of all. So I went down to Wethersfield myself to find out what was going on. So what have you seen with regards to the reports this week about migrants roaming the lanes and so on?
Yeah, they roam the lanes, they've got a lot of rubbish along the roads and everything. They defecate down by the lane. They're just a complete nuisance, really.
So, sorry, they defecate in public?
Well, it's just off the lane there towards the water tower. We've seen it, and they go down the road there at the bottom, along the lane there. They cut through here. This is all private from here.
Well, there's a reason we're looking at the guy's shoes there, because the reality is that many of the locals in Wethersfield are now too scared to even speak about what's happening in their tiny village, over fears of repercussions, I guess. Eventually, though, I did find someone willing to speak on camera.
I don't want them wandering down our track, and I don't want my wife and my family walking the dogs and coming across someone having a in the middle of a field.
So, Jeff, on Thursday, the Home Office is going to decide about whether to increase the capacity there to 800-odd migrants. Does that worry you?
It doesn't matter if it worries us, because we're just the people that live here. Nobody gives the monkeys about us.
You don't feel listened to?
Nah, not at all, and we know it. So Starmer's been doing that for sure. We've only got to listen to what he's not been doing.
That chap there, he's called Jeff. He runs Temperley Street Food in the village. Great burgers as well, thoroughly recommend. He then recalled a moment from late last year where one migrant tried accessing a local's home.
The initial meetings before they even opened it, and some Home Office spokesman was on a Zoom call with us in the pub. We all piled in there. And, yeah, nothing will happen until everything's safe. Well, we've had problems in the village where I think it was Africans was trying to get into some woman's car and then in her house, and then you've had the problems, obviously, with people taking the dump. We go around the walk and, it's like a human toilet sometimes in the summer.
So there we go. Strange men from faraway lands, we don't know who they are, trying to get into people's homes. Here's that moment from last year. Oh, dearie me. So while the local residents feel unsafe, let down and ignored, I went down to the base itself and found two women in a van dishing out what I later understood to be clothes and hats to the migrants.
Hi, sorry.
How's it going? Ben from GB News, how are you? Are you serving coffees? Is there any chance of getting a coffee, please? Are you saying don't talk? Would you like a very quick chat with us? Just want to know what's going on here. Where are you from, by the way? Do you mind me asking? What's the problem?
No problem.
No problem?
Yeah.
You don't fancy saying where you're from or what you're doing? What service you're providing? What charity? I later discovered the two women there, the white British women, or English, I guess, from their language, were from Care for Calais, the NGO that supports migrants as they make their journey to Britain. And when they left, one of the migrants they were telling not to speak to me did decide he wanted to talk. Did you come into the UK? Was it on a boat, small boat?
Yeah, very small boats.
And do you mind me asking how much you paid the gangs? How many thousands?
I don't know.
Did you pay?
I don't pay another person.
OK. And how was the journey? Was it dangerous? Or?
Yeah, very dangerous, unfortunately.
What was the weather like?
Very cold and bad memories I have here.
And when did you come? How long have you been waiting for asylum?
7 months ago.
7 months? Yes. So that's quite a long time.
Yeah.
So that guy there said he didn't pay, someone else did. He later said he didn't know how much or, how it was facilitated. So my big question is, who did pay? And how many of these thousands of young men from war-torn countries who are meant to be poor managing to get hold of £5,000, £6,000, £7,000 together to pay smuggling gangs? Are any of them paying? How do they get the money? Because this is industrial-level people smuggling going on, yet it appears these guys have access to more money than most normal Brits do. Very bizarre. And it appears they also have access to much better local services too. One of the biggest gripes in Wethersfield is the poor bus service for villagers who basically have no public transport at all because current provisions are so bad. Migrants, however, at the RAF base have been bussed in and out of the site all day, every day. Councillor Mark Alt. Should we call them? Let's see if they're around.
Also see lots of what look like 12-seater minibuses coming in and out on a pretty regular basis.
Yeah,
and
seen them.
That service, at a huge taxpayer expense, is much better than the bus service that I'm working on this afternoon to try and improve.
Yeah, we've seen all the buses coming in and out of the village and I guess ferrying them to Braintree and beyond. And yeah, the locals we've spoken to have said, well, hang on a minute, we haven't even got our own bus service, or one that is there but doesn't really work. Even the migrants themselves aren't happy. This was them previously protesting about being cold and having slow internet. So when the locals aren't happy and the illegal migrants aren't happy, why is the Home Office ploughing on with increasing capacity at RAF Wethersfield, regardless, without even consulting the villagers themselves? Initial costs for the site were projected at something like £5 million. That then rose to £49 million annually, with other recent reports suggesting it's now ballooned to, obviously, £100 million. I did manage to find one happy resident, however. Here with beautiful Dylan, Wethersfield's most beautiful dog. There we go, good boy. Good boy. You don't mind what's going on here, do you? You just want your snacks.
That's right.
You see, I don't care who gives me the snacks, whether they're Wethersfield people or they're migrants. Snacks is snacks. Oh, to be like Dylan, he's a good boy, isn't he? Ignorance is bliss. Well, let's get the thoughts of my panel now. Peter Blexley, Linda Jubilee, Paul Richards. Peter, what's your thoughts on that?
Great work, Ben.
Thank you.
It is a deep, deep stain upon all the politicians of this country, whether they said stop the boats and they didn't, whether they said smash the gangs and they can't, that the very fabric of some of our villages, towns and cities are being changed completely, possibly irreversibly, through mass migration, be that legal or illegal. The very fabric, nature, culture and structure of this country is being altered.
And can you imagine,
and
Linda,
not all for the better.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you there. Can you imagine, Linda, how many other places this is happening all over the UK? How many small villages we're not hearing about?
I know, because I did, for a time, do 2 English language projects for evacuees, not asylum seekers. But inevitably, I met asylum seekers, and I can tell you now that maybe it's not this exact situation that's happening across the UK, but there are very, very many similar situations right across the country.
Yeah. Very briefly, Paul, sorry, you've got about 20 seconds.
Footage showed the terrible ordeal of 4 people going for a walk in the countryside. It wasn't exactly killer stuff, was it? And I don't think the Home Office will go ahead with this, actually, because I don't think they will put 800 people into that RAF camp. My solution would be let them work, and integrate them into our society and let them pay tax.
How about stopping them coming into the country in the first place if they're illegal?
I've got to move on because we're going to crash or fail, and I've got to read this statement. The Home Office spokesperson said this government inherited an asylum system under unprecedented strain. We're working hard to restore order to that system and reducing the use of taxpayers' money on expensive asylum hotels. That inevitably has meant difficult choices have been made.